Islam family, this Facebook Live is specifically, let's try to get some better leverage here. I'm gonna try, y'all. I don't know how great this is going to be, but anyway, peace and love family, Pax Etamor. Kind of waiting for a couple of people to get on. Oh, there we go. Islam Vizier, Mohammedan Judge, Jiramor, Aqua, L. I always say everybody's appellation wrong, so I apologize if I butchered it. Now, today we're going to talk about Islam Kenneth. We're going to talk about a case. I don't even like calling things a case if they don't have jurisdiction, if they don't have actual delegation of authority, and if they do not have, I'm waving at y'all real quick, get that out of the way. Even if they do not have status. Now, there are so many videos out there to get us well versed on what courts, what presumed institutions, what presumed organizations have to present, have to put in the beginning. The introduction of any case, tribunal, administrative proceedings, any type of civil or criminal Islam, any type of civil or criminal things that we find ourselves in, the very first thing, a Moor, especially an individual who happens to not even be a Moorish national, but you're a national in the same right, but you belong to another nation, because here in Morocco, you're supposed to be a Moorish American national if you have sovereignty here on our lands. And the very first thing when we find ourselves within a particular situation or having to deal with something, and whether it be lawful or unlawful, fraudulent or something that you've been brought up against, you ultimately have to state for the record your status. That is the very first, the absolutely very first thing you establish when interacting or conversing with anyone who's asking questions as to who you are as the Moorish American in Morocco. Now, the very first thing you state for the record, on the record, and to be put in the record is your status when being illegally and unlawfully family. Every time you get pulled over by a highwayman, policy enforcer, and anyone outside of sheriff status is illegal unless and only if you are presenting a danger, a clear and present danger to someone on your travels. That means you're swerving and it looks like you might hit someone, you actually hit someone, or something towards that effect. Outside of that, they have no jurisdiction, they have no just cause, they have no authority to pull you over, to question you in any other capacity, family. So know that going in, as soon, and even if you have registered or unregistered, a tag or not a tag, stickers on the front of your conveyance, regardless of the status of your conveyance, you as the Moor supersede all of those processes, statutes, codes, as long as when you present yourself, you start with nationality. Okay, family? So even though we know they're unlawfully pulling us over because of a presumed authority, which they do not have, it is illegal. They know it. And even if they didn't know it, it does not give them authority to do the thing that they're doing, even if they're ignorant of the fact. Ignorance of the law is no justification. It is not a defense for breaking it. That's for you Moors, and that's for every colonized individual or foreigner on our land. So know that going in. The particular case that I wanted to go over today, but I'm not going to talk about, all I'm going to say is this Moorish American national, because I'm going to leave her information private, because this situation should have absolutely positively never occurred, family. And we're having too many of these, and we need to put it in the public forum so those individuals know and the world knows what the Moors are dealing with in Morocco on their land as the sovereign, as the government, in proper status, right? So when you have a situation, family, and you are being pulled over for presumed offenses, presumed statutes, all that are illegal, the only thing you are obligated to abide by is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, as well as the American Constitution, which is Article 6. Outside of that, they have no jurisdiction. They can't want the jurisdiction. They can't assume the jurisdiction, and you can't even give it to them, even by submitting. You're not giving them jurisdiction. You're just giving them fiat. Know that, family. All right. So the particular case that we are going over is, I'm going to put the title in there and see if anybody can tell me the error in the actual plaintiff and so-called defendant. The plaintiff in this case, and I'm going to say corporate, I don't even know what to call it, y'all. We got to make a name for it, because we can't call it case. We can't call it court. We can't call it government. We can't call it any of these things. We cannot call it that. So we got to call it what it is. De facto state of Ohio, which is a corporation. It's not a government. It's not, it's a General Assembly of Colony Caucasian Americans, or I said Americans. Look at me messing up on my own live broadcast. It's the state of Ohio versus a Moorish American national. So answer me for the very first to the actual naming of the case. The case is between the state of Ohio, which is being brought through the Tiffin Fosoria Municipal Court. Now, that is a corporation, and it's incorporated, and you can do a Google search if they haven't hidden all of this information. But we know if we didn't authorize it, we didn't sanction it, we didn't give delegation of authority to these individuals to hold court, to even create a court, it is a corporation under the so-called state, which is also a corporation under the United States Service Corporation, which is the head of all of these de facto not government organizations. Islam family. So the first error is what? Who's the injured party? Because here we have the state of Ohio versus Moorish American national. So in this, to be a plaintiff means you had to have had an injury imposed and inflicted upon you. To be a defendant means to have been the person who injured the other natural, air quotes, natural person. Corporations can never be harmed, can never be injured, because where do they exist, family? They exist only on a piece of paper. They are not flesh and blood beings. Therefore, they can never cause an action, a claim, be an injured party, because they are not a body. They don't exist, right? So that's the first error. The first error is the state of Ohio can never be a plaintiff in any so-called case, ever. Never, ever can it be. So who is the party, the so-called injured party that has claimed this Moorish American national, who self-identified as such, who put it on the public record as such? How can that person, natural person, injure something that does not exist, which is the state of Ohio does not exist? Now, the question we need to ask, who incorporated the so-called state of Ohio and further incorporated as a subsidiary, which is a partnership of the state of Ohio, the Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Court, which is just a corporation, which is being run administratively by an individual fraudulently calling himself a judge, because judges have delegation of authority from the court, from the home, the body. The body is the Moorish American government. We are the only ones who can give delegation of authority, Article 3, because we're the only ones who can be an Article 3 court or judge, one of which I am, Vizier. So that's the first thing. Who gave delegation of authority? I was commissioned. Who commissioned this individual who is stating his name to be Mark Rep? Mark Rep is falsely and fraudulently calling himself a judge of the Tiffin Municipal Court of the state of Ohio. So what I hear when I say that specific verbiage is you work under the corporation called Tiffin Municipal Court as an administrative clerk to make finance for that organization. And your method of choice is to create codes, statutes, ordinances that the people are being captive and held to fraudulently, because the American Constitution forbids all so-called states, all so-called corporations, anything outside of that document from creating laws or statutes or anything. They can't create anything that is outside of the American Constitution. And the only body politic that can do that is the Supreme Court under the Congress and Senate. You can find that Articles 1, 2, and 3 of the American Constitution. So what I said was, the first thing to be, I know y'all sitting here saying so much and I ain't even reading nothing. Give me a minute. Let me go back and read some of these comments. Okay. Okay. Jira Moore stated, Vizier also of the Moorish American Consulate, who is stating for the record 12. We and all Moorish American nationals rebut and reject the representation of all barristers, attorneys, and foreign law persons of the foreign corporate venue. We present ourselves at all times. We present with the assistance of the Moorish American consuls at our choosing all foreign barristers, attorneys, or foreign law persons of the foreign courts attempting to represent us or attempting the crime of inducement to fraud shall be subject to liens, fines, imprisonment, and any other redress, restitution, and remedy that we choose. So what he's ultimately saying is this: y'all don't represent us, we represent ourselves. We present ourselves. We are not represented by anyone. And if we are represented by anyone, that individual that we are being represented by is based on who we want to be represented by. But Moors present themselves, right? So attorneys, lawyers, can anybody license that ability? No, they can't. You can pick and choose exactly who you want to present you, to assist you, to give counsel within any claim that's being brought up against you. But at the very inception of that claim, there has to be an injured party. I have had to have injured you in some kind of way for you to be able to seek remedy. So the question is, can the state of Ohio be injured by a Moorish American national? And let's talk about why this individual, this natural being, in her sovereign capacity on her ancestral Moroccan land, was pulled over by a foreign corporate state for violating their codes that are only subject their people, which are whoever has citizenship through their organization, which Moors don't, right? And they know this automatically based on the color of our skin. Automatically know, because we can never be a part of your union because you're colonies. You've never been states. We never gave you that state status. You are always going to be colonies because you owe your allegiance to the people who gave you, who you belong to, who you are affiliated with, who you are so-called citizens of. That's Europe, England, Great Britain. That's not here. Right? So the only individuals, the only natural beings they have jurisdiction over are those who align themselves with them intentionally, and they can never, absolutely ever be us, even if we identify as a brand. Treaty of Peace and Friendship tells you that. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship tells you specifically that we can never be a part of their union. So too did the Article 13 that said Africans can never be a part of your union. So we can't even be in as a slave. Slavery is illegal, y'all. Y'all knew that, right? Okay. So the state of Ohio is not a governing government whatsoever, and to claim to be is violating what USC code, family? There is a USC code that violates because they are warring with the government. They are creating treasonous offenses. They are kidnapping, harassing, coercing the natural beings of this ancestral land who gave them refuge, a voice, protection in Morocco. Violating the treaty, violating the American Constitution. So, this individual, Islam family, objection, fraudulent conveyance of language. What fraudulent conveyance of language? The state cannot be an injured party. No, it can't, because it doesn't exist. It only exists on paper, and they're not states, they're colonies, and we need to stop calling them states, they're colonies. Plaintiff needs to be whomever assumes liability. Plaintiff needs to be whomever assumes liability representing. Elaborate on that thought, Kenneth, because a plaintiff has to be specifically an injured party. That means you violated a contract. That's an injury. You violated personal property. You violated the person in being. But a corporation, an institution, can never be an injured party. So clarify your comment, Kenneth. Corporations can't be harmed because how? How the hell am I? Did I? Okay, I don't want to rip none of my paper, y'all. So this is paper. Think about this. And this is where a corporation exists. It had to be penned by a natural being. So it's linked to a natural being, but it in of itself is not a natural being, because only a person in flesh and blood can take a pen, and create a thing. But that thing is still a thing, and it cannot be heard. It cannot convey a message. It cannot say you've injured me. It can only exist here, right? All right. 1, equity sees that as done. What? Equity sees that as done what ought to be done. 2, equity will not suffer a wrong to be without a remedy, meaning you have remedies for every injury that any natural being inflicts upon you. That's your natural and common right, and common law and supreme law of the land. 3, equity delights in equality. 4, equity, one who seeks equity must do equity. Islam. Equity aids the vigilant, not those who slumber on their rights. And that is people who stand up and fight for the rights that they have gotten from their creator. But those who just sit in the corner and conversate and complain about it but never stands up, that's what that's referring to. 5, equity okay, I already read that. 6, equity imputes an intent to fulfill an obligation. 7, equity acts in personam. 8, equity abhors a forfeiture. And 9, equity does not require an idle gesture. Gotta be. 10, he who comes into equity must come with clean hands. 11, equity delights to do justice and not by halves. 12, equity will take jurisdiction to avoid a multiplicity of suits. Equity follows Equity follows. Where did I? Equity follows something, but I lost my spot. Equity follows the law. Yeah. Equity will not aid a volunteer. Where equities are equal, the law will prevail. Between equal equities, the first in order of time shall prevail. So yeah, if you come first and we both got the same claim, you get it over me because you came first. But it has to be, yeah. Equity will not complete an imperfect gift. Equity will not allow a statute to be used as a cloak for fraud. Oh, I love that one. Equity will not allow a statute to be used as a cloak for fraud. And what is a statute? It's not even law, so you can't use it. Equity will not allow a trust to fail for want of a trustee. And the last one, equity regards the beneficiary as the true owner. And y'all are all the beneficiaries, Moors, right? So y'all the true owners, right? The attorney representing the state is to be held liable for state of etc. claim for Moorish American national against above and de facto judge, magistrate, and all persons. Islam family. All right, what else we got here? You got me reading a lot, G-Moore. Constitution for the United States of America Republic, Amendment 13, Section 12. Thank you for finding that one. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all of your rights. Here we go with the forfeiture of all your rights. I'm going to find it. This is long. Okay, I'm not going to read all that. But, okay, forfeiture of your rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall never be citizens, right? In the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, Sections 20, if any of the citizens of the United States or any persons under their protection shall have any disputes with each other, the consul shall decide between the parties, and whoever the consul shall require any aid or assistance from our government, the enforcement of his decisions, it shall be immediately granted to him. So, consuls decide between the parties, right? So magistrates of these corporate foreign colonies can never, ever adjudicate in any situation in regards to Moorish American nationals, and only can they interject if we allow them that interjection. But guess what form of interjection that would be? A delegation of authority. We would issue literally a delegation of authority, give them the ability to assist in either that case or even that situation, but it will be limited and it will be time barred, meaning it would only be maybe possibly for that particular situation, or possibly for a multitude of situations that may come up for a multitude of reasons. We are the ones that give delegations of authority. We ask for it because that's our lawful responsibility to ask for jurisdiction, not ask for jurisdiction, to ask for delegation of authority. That is what we're required to do. We have to ask, they have to answer. All right? And he put 21, 22. So go and read to Treaty of Peace and Friendship, especially you consuls that dropped online. Know the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, specifically Article 20, specifically Article 21, and specifically Article 22. But know the entire thing, because that is what we're held to when dealing with foreigners on our land. So, this individual, this Moorish American national, like many of us, are being harassed on the highways by highwaymen who are claiming ignorance, but we know they're not ignorant. And ignorance of the law does not give want of jurisdiction. It doesn't give you anything. It just means you're stupid. That's all it means. You nice. So, but knowing, jumping into it, what else we got here? Okay, I object to the state of Ohio being the plaintiff. Yes, I definitely object to the state of Ohio being the plaintiff, because they can't be. This is reality. They can never be. Just putting it up on the audience. Okay, yeah, I was reading everything. Yeah, I was doing that. So, this individual, this Moorish American national, was, what do I want to call it? She was kidnapped. It was a Moabitess. A female Moabitess. She was kidnapped because of, not identifying under their corporate ward status. She expressed to the policy enforcer, who had no jurisdiction, lawful authority in any way, shape, or form to pull her over for anything. They don't have it. They're illegal. They're not even supposed to be here because they're illegal. We only allowed and sanctioned lawfully a small percentage of individuals on our land. The multitude of all these other beings are illegal immigrants, but calling our brothers and sisters who claim to be Mexicans illegal immigrants, even though their landmass is literally connected to the North Gate, Turtle Island, literally connected. But I digress. Where do I want to go from this? So she was kidnapped and has been in bondage, forced servitude, forced kidnapping under color of law offenses, which means she's being held for absolutely nothing. Because as soon as you Moors state for the record, on the record, even when you are on the scene of a so-called infraction, when you say that you are a Moorish American national in Morocco and this individual does not have authority to pull you over, and the title of so-called transportation, and let's talk about their laws. They're violating their own laws that they're subject to. You're not. They're subject to the law. And the law that they're violating is USC code 75. Is it 75 or is it 49? I think it's 49 for the federal government, and I think it is, United States Service Corporation, and it is 49 and it's 75 for the corporate state of Pennsylvania, which they are subject to, family, not you. They're subject to that because they aligned themselves with that, right? Okay. What does that title specify? Because it is the Department of Transportation, and it specifically, and this is what you need to be able to say in addition. You shouldn't have to say it. As soon as you call yourself a Moorish American national in Morocco, they're supposed to say, oh, I'm sorry for inconvenience you. You have a good day and peace and love. That's what they're supposed to say. That is literally what they're supposed to say when they pull you over, detain you, hinder your movement and your travel, which is a violation of the United Nations Declarations of the Rights of Indigenous People. You have a right to a nationality. So for them to sit here and say, I don't know what a Moorish national is, you have a right to one, so do you. Why don't you have one? Right? So I'm trying to organize my thoughts, as Kimberly Bombay would say. Gather my thoughts. Title 75 of the USC Code talks about traveling on the highways in a commercial capacity. Does that title attach? Commercial capacity. Commercial capacity, meaning, and it's not even tied to you Moors if you are even in a commercial capacity, just so you know. That's the USC Code for those who come here to do trade with us, who are the sovereigns of the land, okay? What I'm saying to you is the license, registration, and proof of insurance is a USC code, a rule of conduct we instituted for them in commerce in Morocco. So when they pull you over, if they pull you over and they say, oh, you got bad tags, or your tag is expired, or can I see your license, registration, and proof of insurance, or can I see your federal ID, or can I see whatever the hell else corporate they ask to see, because they're looking for jurisdiction, family. Don't give it to them. Even if they try to violate you, because at the end of the day, guess what? What did he read earlier today? Earlier down in the comment section, you're going to lose possibly your freedom. You're going to lose the property that you think you have, but you don't, because the houses you're squatting in don't belong to you. They belong to the Moors. And Nintiel Bey is telling you, Empress Nintiel Bey is telling you that in what she's doing over there near the corporate territory of North Carolina. Watch her. Watch all Moors that are being active and not passive. and they're doing the work of uplifting and following humanity and getting back in the minds of their forefathers and foremothers, right? So he pulled her over, the Moorish American national, who stated for the record her status, and he kidnapped her and is holding her for ransom and jurisdiction. So this is when our Moors get put in the sweat box to see if they will amend their original statement of their nationality, right? So she's being held, and she's been held since April the 21st of this year. And we produced in the chamber of the so-called administrative assistants of the Tiffin County Municipal Court, corporation, always just say corporation, don't even say court, corporation. She's being held illegally, unlawfully, violating every supreme law of the land. This is what human trafficking looks like, family. This is what RICO, organized gangs, looks like. True organized gangs where they create infrastructures and they mislabel themselves fraudulently as corporations, whereas though they can get our family members to acquiesce their position because they think within their heads that they are, and that's illegal. It's called genocide. It's called transfer of wealth. It's called a multitude of warring with the government, warring with the state, violating your oaths that you've taken, regardless of if you don't have you don't have a government. You take an oath. Everything you say and bind yourself to is an oath. Everything. So if you say, whatever you say, I'm not going to repeat that. You're taking an oath, and you're binding and attaching yourself to that which you're stating an oath to. So if you violate it, man, shall I continue? So, where am I at? On July the 6th of this same year, a document, a writ quote, let me see, where did I put that? A writ of certiorari, which is a writ of certiorari, is when a actual court of record, which is a court of law, which is a Article 3 court, which is what the Moorish American Consulate is, because it's created, organized, and instilled by the true de jure people as a vote, as a commission. We asked for the records. We requested the records. We demanded the records for this so-called case because they don't have jurisdiction and they don't have authority and they don't have delegation or status. First thing you always establish. Ask their status. What's your status to be in Morocco? Say that for the record. And then a sacred writ of restitutio, as well as a writ of habeas corpus. These documents were sent to the administrative clerk, which is falsely identifying himself as a judge, Judge John, what's his name? Mark Rep of the Tiffin Municipal Court of Ohio State Corporation, has denied the lawful and judicial writ of certiorari, writ of restitutio, and writ of habeas corpus, all of which are under the sovereign authority of the American Constitution, which specifically talks about the writ of habeas corpus will never be denied. It's being denied for color of law, right? So he denied this order. He denied this demand. He denied this authority. He literally denied it and posted and sent the documentation stating to the fact for a Moorish American national. What does that speak to you, family? Him doing that. Warring against the corporate, warring against the state, warring against Morocco, violating the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, violating the American Constitution, violating the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous and the rights of and the human rights, violating the Geneva Convention. Did I say that right? Of 1964, violating everything, just violating all over the place. And I'll read specifically what he said. In a document dated June 21st, 2018, the above named individual asked to dispose of a case for lack of jurisdiction. So that is him confirming jurisdiction was challenged. This person's name does not appear in the Ohio Supreme Court's attorney registration site, so I do not know why I'm responding. Now, let's talk about the attorney registration site. Exactly, treason. Let's talk about that website. Who has to register to practice law in Morocco? Who has to register to do that? I'm asking this question and I would like an answer. Okay, I'm going to just tell you. Nobody has to register to practice law in Morocco. But if you belong to a corporate state, an organization, an institution, licenses is a part of how they make fiat, right? So you're granting a privilege to your wards that are associated with your corporate state. You are not, so you would never be in that registry. He know that. He know that. I do not know why I'm responding since the time for appeal under Rule 4A1 is 30 days from the court's final entry, which was May 9th, 2018, and more than 30 days have elapsed. Now, what he just quote was a policy of his corporation that is not law and is not binding. No rules from the corporate state are lawful or binding. They violate completely the American Constitution, as the state cannot make laws. Only Congress of Article 3 Article 3 can do that. Another violation. The court does not have jurisdiction under ORC 1901-.20 of misdemeanor cases committed within its territory. What territory are they talking about? They have no territory. They have no land ceded to them by any Moorish American sovereign. None. So the court does not have jurisdiction. Okay, I said that. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I misspoke. The court does have jurisdiction under ORC 1901.20. We challenge jurisdiction of you as the so-called acting judge. In order for you to sit on a so-called court of record of law, you have to have delegation of authority, jurisdiction to hold that court. You're being challenged. Mark, Rep, you're being challenged. If, for example, a legitimate citizen of Morocco were to commit a misdemeanor offense in this country, then the Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Court has jurisdiction under that so-called order, ORC. I don't know. See, when you make laws, right, and you create codes, it can't be ambiguous. It can't be unknown. It has to be stated in clear and plain English, so people, even in their commonly mindset, will know what you're talking about. So now you sit here going, think somebody's going to figure out what that means. Don't have to, because they can't make laws. So you don't even got to figure out what the hell that meant. So he said in this county. I said country, y'all. Misdemeanor offense in this county, then the Tiffin. Should I continue? Do I really need to continue? I'm going to continue. Okay. And then it just talked about all of their little surrounding corporations that they have propped up and tried to call them counties. They're all corporations. So I'll go through. Courts have jurisdiction within Adams, Big Spring, Bloom, Clinton, Eden, Hopewell, Jackson, Liberty, Loudoun, Pleasant, Reed, Scipio, Seneca, Thompson, and Venice townships in Seneca County, within Washington Township in Hancock County, and within Perry Township, except within the municipal corporation of West Willgrove in Wood County. What did he just say? He just listed a bunch of corporations that families of these colonies created to fraud you out of your wealth, estate, your booty, your prize, everything. They created a bunch of corporations, aligned themselves together and called them municipal counties, and are holding you to their statutes, codes, and ordinances that are a violation, a complete violation of the supreme laws of the land, because you stated for the record who exactly you are, and the only individuals held to exactly what I just read are their wards, which are the Albions that came over and aligned themselves with them, as well as any other foreigner who was crazy enough to align themselves with them. Knowingly. Had to knowingly do it. You can't get jurisdiction by tricking, fraudulating, deceiving, putting adhesion contracts in applications, making news articles that state a thing. None of these things give people jurisdiction. So what did we go over, y'all? We went over a lot. And we need to get in the habit of doing this as Moors. We need to know exactly what we're talking about. We need to know exactly who is offending us. Who is the natural being that doesn't have a nationality, that's on Morocco soil, aligning themselves with a corporate state, offending you? Who is that being? In this situation, the being that has offended this Moorish American national is an illegal immigrant, and that is Mark Rep, who is a ward, because he hasn't stated his nationality or status for the record, of Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Corporation. He did place himself under the bus. Yes, he did. How are you going to deny? How is a person with no status, no nationality, no lawful right to be in Morocco going to deny a Moorish American national and feel so comfortable and confident to do it, and do it so well and prove the human trafficking for the record in the Moorish American Consulate, in the Moorish American courts, to an Article 3 vizier? So, update on this case. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say that for the vizier who's handling this case, based on his writ of certiorari, because his writ of certiorari stands regardless of if that being, that belligerent, unlawful, and fraudulent being is not providing us with the information to adjudicate this case, which we automatically, off the top, from the beginning, aboriginal, would null and void this order. Would null and void it for want of jurisdiction, lack of jurisdiction, human trafficking, treason. And we send the sheriff to go pick him up and kick him off our land. Literally. The update on this case is favorable. I don't want to give too much. But family, when, if any one of you is apprehended, kidnapped, detained, forbidden from travel illegally, you have to get the facts together. The facts is who, what, where, when. We learned that in English, and we hated it in English. Had to read a little article and then put all the pieces together. That's the one thing that I did learn in the concentration camps. So in this is who? Who is the offender? Mark Rep. Where did this happen? In Morocco. Near the corporate state of Ohio. So that is when? On April 21st, 2018, Christian calendar year. Why? Human trafficking. Fraudulent and treasonous activities, wealth of transfer of not only resources, because her time and energy away from her family, you owe her for that. And what is our, what do you call it? Our fee schedule for every day, every hour, our Moors are held in these concentration POW camps of colonists, corporations. I think it's like $1,800 an hour. And this is lawful money, y'all. This ain't no Federal Reserve monopoly money we asking for. We asking for gold and silver per the stipulation in the Constitution. Gold and silver is currency and money. Federal Reserve notes is just paper. So when you sit here and listen to people, that paper, they say they're telling you all over that paper, and you calling it paper, so you done already admitted the fact that you know it ain't money, it's paper. See how they get us roped into the fraud, family? So does anybody have any questions? We went over this particular case that we seized up from this fraudulent corporate state, and we are still waiting for the documentation. Because we, as the true government of Morocco, Article 3 Commission Viziers, dismiss this case based on want of jurisdiction, based on lacking jurisdiction. We dismiss. Release the Moorish American national I'm referring to, and you know exactly who I'm referring to, because I'm telling you to release. I'm giving you a demand. Any questions? No questions? Thought that was good. How'd y'all like it? We're going to do more of these. Putting actual factual stuff on the record, family. That's what it's about. Actual factual. Not propaganda and whatever the heck else. Hey, Mama. Hey, Kimberly Von Bay. I was talking about you. I said, let me gather my thoughts, as Kimberly Von Bay would say. Oh, you found it. You don't want me to read it because you be saying, no, I just put it for the people. You don't want me to read it. I want to read it. 18 U.S.C. Code, subsection 911. Citizens of the United States, whoever falsely and willfully represents himself to be a citizen of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned, not more. I always lose it when I'm looking. Then 3 years or both. Oh, it snatched me out, y'all. You know what? You're going to go to prison for calling yourself a United States citizen, which you can never be. What's the code for transportation? The transportation code, the USC code for transportation at the federal, not the state level, is 49. And the states have changed them to get it to disassociate from the actual one it comes from. Keep in mind, every so-called state code, ordinance, every statute they create is not supposed to deviate from the ones that come from the federal. Ain't supposed to deviate. And if it does, it's what, y'all? Void ab initio. Because they don't have the ability or authority, delegation of authority, to make laws or enforce them. Don't have authority. That are against or in opposition with the American Constitution. So, did I do a good job, y'all? I don't know. Sometimes I get long-winded. I try to be on point. I have my little points here. But one of the things, families, I really wanted to tell you, when if we have situations where these colonists apprehend our loved ones, our Moorish American loved ones, it is our duty, our fiduciary duty, to get the facts. Because one of the things that I didn't highlight is because I didn't want to put the Moorish American national personal information out there. They listed her as that corporate ward. They listed her as a corporate ward, which was also illegal. Gotta call her who she is, but they can't call her Moorish American appellation, because that would be admitting that you do not have jurisdiction to even present this to your tribunal. So that's why they use your so-called straw, because that's how they feel they have lawful jurisdiction. They will never have lawful jurisdiction, family. So the best thing we can do for our loved ones is to, nationality is the order of the day. So you don't have to put up with people who create organizations and corporations under the so-called fake colonies to transfer your wealth to their wealth and hold our family members in their POW camps for fiat. I forgot where I was going, y'all. I literally got a blank. Literally got a blank. We have to know who is the offending individual. And the offending individual at the start of these situations is the policy enforcer. That is the person injuring you. But that person is injuring you on the fraudulent activity of the so-called magistrate, which is the administrative assistants of those corporations which are trying to claim territorial jurisdiction in Morocco. All fraudulent. So those two bodies that have injured the Moors. I say, if you don't remove yourself from the situation at the time of pulling an individual over that is outside of your jurisdiction, you automatically get an order, a demand for your expatriation off of our ancestral land. I don't even want to give you a court date. I mean, not a court date, I'm sorry. I don't even want to give you time in more time in Morocco, even in a concentration camp or a prison system. I want you to just get off the land. Nope, bye. Take your family with you. Because guess who's going with you? Your family is going with you. You ain't going by yourself. So think long and hard about continuing to violate. And I wouldn't even say you have safe refuge violating the corporate wards that are claiming to be African American, because we coming for our family members because we love them and we're coming for them. And we speak for them. They can never be a part of your union because slavery is illegal, and they can never be a part of your citizenship based on the contracts we already have. So you can't even mess with them, even though you're doing it because they're ignorant of that fact and they're ignorant of law. And that's where we come in, getting our people back on constitutional fundamental principles. And nationality is the first step. So when you have family members who are wards, even though they can never be affiliated with their organizations, ever, not even this property, because it's against all of the treaties and all of the constitutions, internationally as well as domestically, violating. So that's why the first status for us to assist our Moors is to confirm nationality. And if they haven't nationalized, we have to nationalize them. We have to get that piece done. Because in law treats to people in their national capacity, in their lawful capacity. You can't come into any lawful court calling yourself something that is against nationality, i.e. the Dred Scott case. And then you got the William Dungy case where an actual Albion, who didn't have status at the time, an Albion calling an actual Moor a black person, denationalizing him, and he fought him in court and won. Those are two very great cases. Watch them. I said watch them like you can go on TV and watch them. I mean, research them. Because let me tell you, 4 or 5 years in the beginning of my studies and my trail down to Moorish science and my heritage, I had mega headaches because this information was so different from what I've ever learned. And I was actually on the train earlier today talking to 5 brothers, Moorish brothers, who was talking about they black and African American. I wish I would have put it on Facebook Live, but I didn't do it because, you gotta teach them wherever you see them. And whenever they err with calling themselves black, calling themselves African American, it is our fiduciary responsibility to tell them, no, the hell you're not. You are in Morocco. You are just confused. But my lunch break is over, so I hope you enjoyed this. And Jiva Moore, did you say anything else? Yes, we will recover every last one of our kin. Kimberly Von Bay said, weren't citizens of the United States declared enemy combatants? Yeah. Thank you, Jiva Moore. Peace and love, family. I'm hungry now. I'm going to go eat. I love you dearly. I love you. If you haven't heard that today, I love you, Moors, today. Pax et amore. Peace and love, family. And what is it? Bono nocte. That says good day, y'all, in Latin. Bono nocte. Did I say that right, Kimberly? I love y'all day. I love y'all. Y'all have a beautiful Tuesday. And guess what today was? Oh my God, we did it on one of our war days, one of our cool days, y'all. Did we do it? Guess we did on Tuesday. I love the energy of Tuesday. Peace and love, family. I'm not going to ramble anymore. Love you. Amore. Amore. What's you? That just said love. Okay, let me get off of here.